You know, I never knew anything of what to expect coming up and growing up. You know, one day I told my mom, I said, I can't live here anymore, and I left. When it comes time to, you know, when they go to the locker room and then they're, you know, they make the display of the jerseys and the shoes and all of this stuff, he had my number. And, you know, I've been a part of a few brawls. People went crazy about the Detroit, Indiana thing, but that's nothing compared when you got a whole stadium coming at you. Started to really pray a little bit more, because I got away from that, you know what I mean? And just really trying to find myself and you know, try to have that relationship with God to, you know, see if he can help me. My foundation and who I am, that's gonna always be something that's gonna overcome and prevail any situation. I'm Josh Powell, and this is my journey.
I know there's been a lot of speculation about my retirement and what I plan on doing next. And you know, throughout my life, I faced many obstacles. The road has not always been clear. During those tough times, I felt alone. But I prayed and I asked God for strength. In my turmoil, God reached out to me and it revealed whatever I was going through was a part of my true destiny. It was at that moment I made a decision to stop getting in the way of God's plans, because my true story of my destination was my journey.
Josh Powell is an American professional basketball player, a loving father, husband, and community leader. Throughout his career, he has won 2 NBA championships with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he played as a member of the Olympiacos side that won the EuroLeague championship. But overall, Josh has made the decision to not use his success for his own benefit. Instead, he uses it to encourage youth and to inspire others around him.
This is a blessing to be able to get to this point. You know, I never knew anything of what to expect coming up and growing up. And it didn't, for me, because I love the game. I know what I put into the game. I know the blood, sweat, and tears, the sacrifices, the many hours and nights and days and weeks I've spent away from family, friends, loved ones, because I'm locked into the gym, or I'm focused on doing what I need to do. Me personally, I just enjoyed the process and the grind. Like, it didn't matter where I played. I think that, you know, playing 9 years in the NBA, that's a great thing to accomplish, you know. But for me, the longevity, being able to play for 15 years, period, professionally, was something that, you know, I can hold my head up high and say that that's something that I've accomplished, and nobody can take that from me, no matter what people have said, because people gonna always talk. But I just think that I know that God gifted me this, and I just want to be able to repay him back by what I do and how I show up every day, you know what I mean, to be able to give and be the best person that I can be. And not only that, but use this gift to be able to be a blessing to others and to spread that message. My family structure growing up started off, I was actually born in Charleston, South Carolina, but I've been here in Atlanta since a baby. My mom divorced my dad early. So I had to, me and my mom came here, we stayed, where was it, over by Greenbrier Mall, I can't remember the name of the apartments, but eventually she had me go live with my grandparents for a couple of years while she got situated and got herself, you know, back together. And then I came back after living with my grandparents to move in with my mom. We stayed over in College Park off of Old National. My mom also got remarried, so let me put that in there. And the reason for us moving again was because she got pregnant, so she felt like we got to get out of this situation and go to something better, but we moved to Riverdale. So we still, it's, you know, more suburban, but still the same type of things that I dealt with even in College Park. But all in all, you know, I love my mother. You know, she did a lot for me. It was me. At the time, I had 2 older stepbrothers, Chris and Curtis, and my little brother, Nick. So that was, aside from the sporting world, that's as far as like my path of just bouncing around and moving here and there. And then we finally got settled in Riverdale. Growing up, my dad was like my hero. Like, he couldn't do no wrong in my eyes, you know, but as I learned what I know now, if I'd have knew then, it'd have probably been somewhat different, you know what I mean? Because we really didn't have that close relationship. you know, his thing that he always would do is, because, you know, he made a lot of money. He was a mechanic, but he also did a lot of other things on the side. So, I mean, he always had knots of cash, and he'd just be like, take me for the summer, go shopping, you know, buy me all this stuff. And that was like kind of our way to have time. But I never really got that one-on-one, like being able to really vibe with him like that.
Because he had an estranged relationship with his father, Josh's biggest inspiration came from watching his mother on the court.
I love baseball and I love football. Those are the first two things that I did. I actually fell into basketball later because I watched my mother play in a rec league in College Park. And it got me intrigued about the sport and made me, you know, start thinking like, man, you know, I want to get into this. And plus, when I was playing football and baseball, it would be some coaches be like, hey man, you're a big kid, you should try to, you know, play basketball. But I was like, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I was growing up just trying to figure out some stuff, but you know, I was doing it more so as an out and a way to stay out of trouble and things like that. So I fell in love with the game of basketball later on. And you know, I was watching her, and I'll never forget I was flipping through TV one day, ended up seeing the Houston Rockets. I can't remember who they were playing, but the legend, Hakeem Olajuwon, which is like my idol, you know what I mean? Like, and I, you know, paid my game after him, but watching him go to work, that's what really made me like fall in love with the sport, and that's when I, you know, started to get into it. Going into my sophomore year, I grew like 5 to 6 inches that summer. So along with me working my tail off, when I finished my sophomore season, because that was my first time playing varsity. Like I only played 3 years varsity, and I started off 9th grade, kind of going back and forth 9th grade JV, but really, you know what I mean, I wasn't getting that much time or anything like that. So when I did that, I had a good year. I averaged like 17 and 10 or something like that. And then, you know, AAU was a big thing for us. And being able to be a part of that circuit, playing against better guys, the best guys in Georgia, and being able to travel, that's when I, you know, really started to see that this could turn into something, you know, as far as me being able to get an education off of doing something that I love. Education-wise, everybody's, you know, gonna have pretty much the same thing. Not everything, every college is the same, you know, but pretty much the same thing. And for me, I wanted to, you know, get into business management, which was what I was studying. And I noticed that they were gonna have 4, I think it was 3 or 4 of their seniors were all bigs. So that was a chance for me to be able to come right in, you know, get a chance to start or at least get some heavy minutes. So that was the thing that intrigued me about the situation of going to NC State. I kind of made that decision on my own. It was kind of hard because, you know, that's something that kind of that broke my household up because, you know, a lot of people didn't know this in high school, but I pretty much left home and was either staying with somebody, staying in the street or whatever, because I wasn't happy with my home situation. Like I'm a big energy person. And you know, it was really hard coming home with that amount of tension because what it was doing with my stepdad at the time, my mother, it was just a lot of pressure. And you know, one day I told my mom, I said, I can't live here anymore. And I left, you know what I mean? And it just gave me time to be clear outside of, you know, school and doing other things, but it just gave me that time to be clear on what I wanted to do with my college decision.
After leaving home, Josh leaned onto others close to him to help him get by.
You know, as long as I could lay my head down, and I was cool, but there was so many people, you know, at that time, maybe like 3, maybe 4 people that I was kind of bouncing around, either at their house or, you know, using the car or something like that. So, but, you know, that was, I had to grow up even more so, not just because I'm out there on my own, but I just think what it did for me mentally, you know what I mean? Just being able to find that strength and that peace, to understand things that I liked and things that I didn't like, just when you're dealing with people or situations, you know what I mean? Because obviously something I've never dealt with, nothing that my parents have never dealt with. But what it was doing at the time, along with my mom getting sick, you know what I mean, it was just too much. And for me as a kid, I didn't know what else to do other than just be to myself. It's kind of tough because you got to think, you balance in school, you balance in basketball. I was also working. I had an uncle of mine that, allowed me to work in his clothing store and be able to make a few dollars and, help myself out. So just balancing all of those things and started to really pray a little bit more because I got away from that, you know what I mean? And just really trying to find myself and try to have that relationship with God to, see if he can help me, help me understand what's going on and find a way to, get that balance and them answers and that strength. Because, at the time, I'm out here trying to do something on my own instead of allowing him to work for me. Honestly, my mother didn't like what I did, but I could still go back to her, you know what I mean? And she was supportive, we had some very hard conversations at the time with everything going on, but she was still very supportive and very loving and very strong, no matter what was going on. And, even if I needed something, I would still go over there and eat sometimes or, vibe with her. But she was always, amazing to me. And then, like I said, the 2 or 3 people that I could count on, like those families or those friends, they were amazing to me at that time. So, I'm very grateful for them.
As Josh moved on to play for North Carolina State, he had a hard time adjusting as an athletic student.
It can be stressful, you know what I mean? Especially now that you're on your own and you're learning how to manage your time, which is a huge thing that you learn to do once you get to college. And it's some things that you just gotta learn quickly and pick up quickly. But it's very, very hard, you know what I mean? Especially because there are days and times that you're tired, you oversleep or because of workouts or whatever. Just imagine for a student that might be working and they're not in athletics, but we're doing athletics and you got your program and your study hall and your this and your that. So it's a tough task for everybody.
But after facing some difficulties, Josh decided it was time for him to leave after his sophomore year.
I ended up my sophomore year, like once Herb decided to play me and play me consistently, like I just took off. And I was just intrigued about the process and just seeing, if there was any interest. So initially I wanted to test the waters. So here's my story, my coming to Jesus moment as to why I decided to leave. Basically, they had another top recruit that was coming in. His name was Cedric Simmons. He was a good player. He actually played. He got drafted, I believe, and played in the league for a few years. But they brought him in on his visit, and when it comes time to, when they go to the locker room and then they make the display of the jerseys and the shoes and all of this stuff, he had my number. And I really felt like a certain kind of way because I'm like, I'm still here. I'm not deciding to leave yet. And that to me was like the icing on the cake and why I chose to just step out on faith. We had one of the equipment guys there by the name of KB, really good guy, great guy, awesome guy. And he's been working there. He's been on staff for like 20, 30 years for a very long time. And he was one of the people that helped me at that time before I left school, just get ready, like just things that we were doing and how we were training. But just, really trying to, focus really on my game, as far as class and everything. I was just kind of like showing up and, not really engaged and involved the way that I was before. I was just really focused on what I was going to do next. And I started getting calls from different agents at the time. And there was one agent specifically that really caught my attention. And his name is Jamie Knox. Came across as just a really genuine person, a very honest person, very open person. And when I was looking at agents, those are some of the things that spoke to me because I know that in picking a school, picking somebody like an agent or an advisor or things like that, that people gonna give you game. They gonna talk that talk and tell you everything that they want you to hear and know. But it was something about his spirit. It was something about, the face-to-face interactions, just seeing how genuine he was and how he carried it, that led me to rock with him. And still to this day, he's still my agent. So that's a rare thing in itself. But he was just amazing as far as helping me with the process and educating me on what I needed to expect moving forward, what teams were looking for in, as far as workouts and things like that. So like he really made life, 10 times easier for me.
After entering the 2003 NBA draft, Josh found himself without a team and the feeling that he may have made the wrong decision.
So after the draft ended, obviously, first and foremost, let me, express that it's hurtful, you know what I mean, to see that, because you feel like you failed and you start questioning yourself because you're like, man, did I make the right decision, this, that, and the other. So I stepped away, you know what I mean, but Jamie, prior to that, he was just like, listen, I got work to do. I'll keep you posted, you know what I mean, just take some time, to relax or whatever. And, again, he walked me through that entire process because even though I was undrafted, I was still able to get onto a summer league team, which is important too. And he was able to get me on the Dallas Mavericks summer league team, in which I was, able to spend the whole month of July. I think we did LA and we did Utah, which I think Utah is still going on now, but those were the two summer league spots that team did at the time. So that was my way of, getting in, because you're still playing in front of the NBA teams and you're still playing in front of international teams, scouts, coaches, whoever, when you go to those, different places.
Playing in the summer league paid off as Josh's agent was able to find an opportunity that would get his foot in the door.
So basically, he came up to me with a few options and just told me, we have a deal in Russia, and he told me how much it was for, the opportunity, and I just was like, all right, I'll take it, you know what I mean, just to be able to, get my feet in the door, and because when it comes to like basketball, there's so many different ways that not just with the NBA, but of course you can have an overseas career. But as far as, me, if I wanted to get back into the NBA, how that goes. So, it's just taking advantage of certain opportunities and things like that. But I mean, I signed a contract to go to Russia, so that was my official, first team and situation to go to. My first overseas experience was short-lived because I was literally only there for maybe 2.5, 3 weeks. Me and the team parted ways, but Jamie was able to get me into another situation in which I went to Italy. And I did a half a season in Italy. So, that was a very, because that was the first time extended, being extendedly away from like family and friends and everything else, and just adjusting to the language, to the this, to that. And but I had two. That team, we had 3 American players, with myself included. But the other 2 guys were like great vets, and they really helped me through it. Like they made life super easy for me. Because they had already built relationships, so we were going to the base, to military base, to get food, to get whatever stuff that we needed, and just conversations and just making sure that I'm okay like that. They really helped me during my first year, my experience. The fans are extremely passionate about their clubs and about the game and everything else. And I've been a part of a few brawls where everybody people went crazy about the Detroit, Indiana thing, but that's nothing compared when you got a whole stadium coming at you, you know what I mean, in certain situations, because if you're playing rival teams. Now you gotta remember something, a lot of these teams too are mafia-owned, ran, like, you know, you going into different situations dealing with a lot of different stuff. And, you know, been a part of some crazy things and some crazy times, you know, internationally. But, you know, all in all, it's amazing because you won't get another atmosphere that's like that.
The following year, Josh came back to the States to play for the Dallas Mavericks, where he was sent to the NBA's D-League with a point to prove.
I felt like they was gonna learn, like I'm gonna prove them wrong. I didn't take it personal because you gotta remember something, you know, and a lot of people don't think of it this way. Like, so it's not my rookie year, but technically it kind of is. And when you playing behind guys like Dirk Nowitzki, who's a franchise player, he's getting the majority of the minutes at the 4. You got Eric Dampier, who's, you know, obviously a true veteran. He's been in the league for many years. And you talking about big contracts. You got Keith Van Horn. I mean, you got guys that, you know, playing in the league, and I'm a young guy, and, you know, I got to fit in and find my role. And at the time when they did it, you know, I think we had like a full roster. Everybody was healthy, and, you know, Avery was just saying that he wanted me to go down and get some experience and just be able to get, you know, playing a little bit, because prior to that, I was only doing practices and if we scrimmaged against each other or something like that. So that was just a chance for me to go down there and show and prove.
Josh earned his way back up to the NBA's main stage. But over the next 4 years, he found himself going through a series of trades between the Indiana Pacers, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Los Angeles Lakers, where he would come to win 2 NBA championships.
When I won the first championship, one thing that I did, I mean, just sitting there, and I just said to myself, you know, I'm just this kid from Clayton County, you know, Riverdale High School, and I never saw myself getting to a point where, for one, I'm living out my dream. I'm a part of, you know, being able to say that I've played in the NBA, but another thing is being able to win a ring, and that's a really hard thing to do and to get there. And I've been fortunate enough because I went to the finals twice at that point, but I finally won one.
After a 15-year career, Josh is deciding to step away from the basketball court to focus more on spending time with his family.
Some people know, but a lot of people don't. But I mean, this is the first time I'm gonna say it, especially with the cameras going. But this is one of the reasons why I'm retiring after this year, is to be a father, to be around my kids, and to be in their life, because I understand how important that is. You know, at first I'm ripping and running. And I was younger, even with my oldest daughter, I'm just doing me. You know what I mean? But I wasn't really thinking about her. Even though I'm thinking about her, but I'm not like thinking about, because I'm so locked into my career and what I'm doing. But it's crazy, you know, when you're in the same house and you wake up so early that you don't see her, and you've been working like gym, eat, gym, and by the time you get home, she's in bed already. You know what I mean? Like, when I look back at those times, those are things that I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, don't lose sight of what's most important. You know what I mean? And over time, as I got older and matured more, those are the things that I value way more than anything else. So, you know, I'm not saying that I didn't think about my kids, but I think I felt that the reason that I'm doing it, you know, was to make sure I'm taking care of them. But at the end of the day, which, like my father, and that's why I said this goes hand in hand. My father did the same thing with me, right? Not to money, here, go do you, everything's all fun. But if I could replace that with time, I would take time. Because everybody, whether it's your kids, your loved ones, people, getting that quality time with them is way more important than anything else that you could ever do. So I got married in 2008, and that's who I had my last three children with. She has always been basically the mother to my oldest. Because my oldest, that was a 5-year stressful process, but God is good. But I went through a huge custody battle with her mother. You know what I mean? So, you know, that was something else, you know, that helped me as a person, and really showed me a lot about myself and who I am, you know what I mean, and what I need to be, especially for my kids. My whole life, I've been pretty much the behind-the-scenes guy. Even when I was with the Clippers, it wasn't really that much hoopla or anything else. But when I got with the Lakers, you're dealing with a whole nother beast of media and everything else. And the nastiness in which her mother did some things, and when you have to be the person to not speak on it, when you have to be the person to, you know, keep your mouth closed and go through the process, you know, that was a really hard thing when you have somebody basically downing your character and who you are as a person constantly, you know what I mean? And then people talking and they judging you. So it helped me build, you know, even more tougher skin because, you know, I'm like, for me, say what you want, but that's cool. As long as I'm able to get my daughter at the end of the day, that was the most important thing for me.
Also during his spare time, Josh has found a way to use his resources to give back to the community.
So the name of my foundation is 21 Reasons to Give. We have 21 principles. It's different in a sense that we're not focusing on one thing. We can do multiple things, from camps to drives to taking care of families to, you know, so many different things to be involved in. That to me was the important thing and why I wanted to name it 21 Reasons to Give and to have those principles to show the different things that we can do when we come into a community or whatever the situation may be. I've always been a giver. And before I had the foundation, I was already doing stuff. And you know what I mean? When I wanted to, you know, make it grow and be something different, you know, you gotta obviously operate your situation a whole different way. So I had to get the 501c3, you know, get the name, make sure everything was together to make sure we're doing it the right way. Because if you're asking people for time, money, or whatever, you know what I mean, you gotta have your stuff right. Some good advice that I would tell anybody is just, what's your foundation? And what I mean by that, to the core, who you are, like, because that's what's gonna get you along in life. You know what I mean? If you wanna be a great parent, if you wanna be a professional athlete, a doctor, lawyer, anything, all of those values and things that you learn as far as being respectful, being consistent, showing up on time, all of those things, that's a part of your foundation and who you are. There's gonna be a lot of ups and downs. There's gonna be a lot of times where things may or may not go your way, but who you are and how you are able to continue to do what you do outside of that is what makes everything else. It ain't about the money. Like I played this game, I love this game, but it's not about the money. I love it because I respect it. I love it because it's something that I enjoy doing it. And because of that, I'm blessed to be able to get the money. So it has nothing to do with that. My heart and my intention is the right way. And that's always been something about me. I show up and I show out every day. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But my foundation and who I am, that's gonna always be something that's gonna overcome and prevail any situation.
On the next, The Journey with LaMarr Woodley.
I just want people to know that I'm worth it. And I know that today. That's the difference, when you know that you're worth something.
Everything started to change, but it didn't start to change until I started changing.